Ladies and gentlemen, the event will now begin. Kelly, please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kelly Nash, and welcome to today's webcast. Our new reality, virtual ADR, is here and ready to assist attorneys in resolving disputes. This event is brought to you by Law.com and sponsored by National Arbitration and Mediation. Before we begin, let's go over some basic housekeeping items to help you use the webcast console. First, this event is completely interactive and incorporates many of today's social media tools. You can tweet or directly post information to your Facebook and LinkedIn pages right from the console without having to open a new browser. Just scroll along the bottom of the screen and click on the social networking widget of your choice. Also, if you have a question for our speaker today, please enter it in the Q&A widget on your console. We will get to your question during the event or during the live Q&A at the end, depending on how much time we have. We will answer as many questions as possible, so please feel free to ask away. And if we don't get to your question within the hour, you may receive an email response after the event. In addition, there are some other customizable functions to be aware of. Every window you currently see, from the slide window to the Q&A panel, can either be enlarged or collapsed. So if you'd like to change the look and feel of your console, please go right ahead. Also, this event is CLE eligible. CLE has been approved in the states of California, Illinois, New Jersey, and New York only. CLE credit is available for attorneys in the approved jurisdictions, provided that you reviewed this event live for 50 minutes or more. Participants who wish to receive credits for other states must check directly with their CLE board. Within an hour after the presentation, all attendees will receive further instructions via email on how to obtain your CLE. The CLE code will be announced during the presentation. New Jersey and New York attorneys should be sure to retain the code for their records, since they will need to re-enter it in order to download their CLE certificate. Their certificate will be available for download 1 week after the event on May 7th. And now for today's topic and the reason you are all here. As we all know, a new reality has come, that is social distancing. As a result, it's imperative that we use technology to continue working while adhering to government regulations. Thankfully, video and teleconferencing are fully operational, and that enables mediators to continue providing seamless alternative dispute resolution services. Here to explore how you can start moving your cases forward and serve the best interests of your clients is the Honorable Judge Larry Schachner. Judge Schachner has served on the bench for nearly 20 years and has developed an impeccable reputation for his judicial temperament, integrity, and superior settlement skills. His experience on the bench has given him a broad range of knowledge in numerous areas of the law related to employment, labor law, maritime law, medical malpractice, and more. In 2019, Judge Schachner was voted a top 10 arbitrator in New York State for the second year in a row by the New York Law Journal Best of Survey. So before we dive into today's discussion, we'd like to gather some feedback from you to gauge where you stand with the ADR process and remote arrangements. We're going to ask 3 polling questions, if you can kindly respond as those questions appear on the screen. The first question that we have here is, have you ever participated in ADR? And we'll give everyone a few moments to respond. You can make your selection by clicking on one of the radio buttons here and hitting submit. Okay, let's move forward and see how everyone responds. Okay, we have a majority answering yes to that. Judge Schachner, do you want to comment on that? Is that something that you would normally see, or is it a surprising result to you?
Well, I think, prior to, by the way, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Judge Schachner, and I hope everybody's doing okay in these very trying times. But prior to this, critical pandemic situation, I think the use of ADR was increasing. Many of you are aware of the backlog that exists in the court system, and ADR is used as a way to dispose of cases and move cases along. And I think we were seeing an ever-increasing use of ADR. And I think, the situation we're all in now is just going to spur further use of ADR to resolve cases.
Great. So we'll move to the next polling question, which is more tech-related. Have you ever utilized a video conference to conduct a mediation or arbitration? Once again, if you could just make a selection there, either yes or no, by clicking the radio button and then hitting submit to the right of the screen. Okay. And the results here are overwhelmingly no. Judge Schachner,
Okay.
what's your take on that?
Yeah. Well, that would be the case because up until 6 weeks ago, it was a rarity to use video mediation or video arbitration. We've seen a tremendous demand for it moving forward. We started off, there was a trickle, and now, my schedule is getting booked up, and my colleagues at NAM, similar situation. People are realizing it's user-friendly, and it's easy to use, even if you are not technologically adept, and I would call myself technologically challenged. But so I'm here to tell you today that it's usable, it's doable. If I could do it, you could do it. And hopefully by the end of today's session, you will realize that everyone can use it.
Great. Yeah, this is really an opportune time, I think, to have this discussion. And I think everyone on this call will absolutely benefit from the best practices that you're going to walk us through during today's hour.
Yep.
Great. So in the final question we have here, have you ever used a video EBT meeting with a client or video court appearance? And here the audience can select all that may apply. Video EBT, meeting with a client, video court appearance, or none of the above. We'll give everyone just a few moments. Okay, moving into the results we have here. Just over half responding none of the above, with about a third responding video EBT. Any thoughts there, Judge?
Yeah, I think, people are starting to do the video deposition. It's another way to move the cases along. Video court appearances, I know in the New York City metropolitan area, they have started to try and do this, but quite frankly, the court system is a bit bureaucratic, a bit of a dinosaur, and they are trying to get this rolling. But I think, the technology, they were not really ready for the technology, as opposed to a company like NAM that had it ready to be rolled out, and they have.
Great. Yeah, I think we're all in this learning curve here together. All right, so we have one final question, and here this isn't necessarily a polling question. What we'd like to ask you to do is to provide your response to this question in a Q&A widget on your console. The question is, what's your biggest fear about using video ADR? If you can offer your comments, as I said in the Q&A widget, we'd love to hear how everyone feels about the use of video ADR, and hopefully today's presentation will help to alleviate those fears, and we can address some of your comments as they come in throughout the hour. So thank you to everyone for your input on all of these starter questions here to get us moving. They're going to definitely help us to drive the discussion today. At this point, I will go ahead and I'll pass it over to Judge Schachner to dive into the heart of our discussion around resolving disputes virtually in the new world that we live in. So Judge Schachner, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Kelly. So I want to start a little bit. Obviously, everybody knows the situation we're in. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Hopefully, we are seeing, a light at the end of the tunnel. But still, our world has become turned upside down. And the legal profession, most of us were not considered essential employees. We've seen businesses close. Courts are essentially closed except for some emergency applications. And as I said before, they have started to do some video conferences. But, here we are in our new reality, and we're going to have to adapt to the new normal. And I think video conferencing is a way to do that. You can move to the next slide. Basically, as Kelly said, I was a judge for over 20 years. I was 30 years plus in the court system. When I came to NAM almost 3 years ago, I was trained on the use of video conferencing. And before this all started, I had done several cases where people were unable to travel and they attended a mediation by video conference, and it worked. And now, it's front and center. Mediation is now considered, it's alternative dispute resolution. But actually, it's now become the main way to resolve disputes, given that the courts are not with us in full steam, and in fact, backlogs are building up so that even when the courts do reopen, there's going to be some very, very long backlogs in the court system. And what I'm here to tell you is that video conferencing, it's not a new technology. It's very user-friendly. And quite frankly, if I can use it, anybody can use it. It really is pretty easy to do. In fact, most of the time, your hardest part will be just logging on. And once you're on, it'll be an easy thing to do, to use, and you'll be in the hands of the mediator or the arbitrator, and you'll be in good hands because we've all been trained and we know what we're doing, and we can also rely on the backup of our IT departments, which are shadowing every mediation and every arbitration. So if we can move the slides along. Okay. Now, what you're going to need to do a video mediation or a video arbitration. Obviously, a computer. It can be either a laptop, a desktop, or even an iPad. You can use your smartphone, either an iPhone or some other smartphone. Now, NAM most of the time uses Zoom, so you will need to download the free Zoom app. And then, obviously, critically, you will need an internet connection. You don't really even need a camera on your device. You can participate without a camera, and you can even participate via telephone on all of our mediations or arbitrations. You can call in on your phone, and you won't even need some sort of camera if you don't need it, and you don't even need a computer or an iPhone or to participate. You can just call in and use it in that manner. It may not be optimum. We don't get to see you. You don't get to see me, but it can work that way as well. Now, moving along to some of the benefits of using video mediations and video arbitrations. Obviously, you can move your cases along and hopefully reach a settlement. And I'm here to tell you that most of the cases that I've done video mediations on have settled during the mediation or shortly thereafter within the next week, because I do follow up and reach out to people after the mediation is held if it doesn't settle, and success is had in that manner. Obviously, multiple people can participate, and people can participate from anywhere that they have internet service, in their office, in their home, in their hotel, even at I did an arbitration last week where the plaintiff was a nurse, and she participated at work at a hospital, while at work on her lunch hour. So these video mediations make it easier for people to participate. Obviously, it's going to save time. It's going to save money for both plaintiff and defendants and insurance companies and businesses that utilize the service. It provides for ease of scheduling. It keeps everybody safe, obviously. It allows for the required social distancing that we're all used to by now. It's secure, and privacy is assured. I want to get in a little bit to the mechanics of how these video mediations would work. So if we can move the slides along. When a case is scheduled, everybody, all the participants, the attorneys, will be given a meeting number, and now every mediation is password protected. And if you wish to, you can give that information to your client. Obviously, you don't have to, but if you want your client to participate, if you want the insurance carrier to participate, they can be at the video mediation as well. Prior to the mediation, you could email the mediator a mediation statement. Hopefully, you'll keep it brief and concise and to the point, but we do read them, and that will help get the mediation up and running. So basically, so far, it's just like a regular mediation, and it continues just like a regular mediation. Everybody will start in a virtual same room. Everyone can see and hear each other. The mediator can see and hear everybody, and then the mediator acts as the host, and that gives further security to everybody involved, because anybody that's not supposed to be in the mediation, I will see, and those people or those people can be removed by me as the host or by the mediator as the host. Now, as we're all in the same room, as I said, everyone can see and hear each other, so each side will get to make a presentation. And again, just as in an in-person mediation, the parties will be separated into what's called breakout rooms, where each side will have their own room with complete privacy, where you can meet with a client. You can, if you're a defense counsel, you can meet with the insurance adjuster. And then at that point, at some point, I will join each breakout room separately. Everybody will hear me come in that's in the room, because a chime rings. So if you're talking about the mediator, that's a good time to stop talking about the mediator. I'm coming into the room, and we're going to discuss the case. And then I do a bit of shuttle diplomacy, going from room to room. That's similar to an in-person mediation. In fact, sometimes at NAM, we're so busy that maybe we don't have breakout rooms for everybody, and we're doing shuttle diplomacy in the hallways. But here, everybody has their own private room, which I can come in and out of and talk to you, and then you can have absolute privacy.
Hey, Judge Schachner?
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have a number of questions that have come through related to use of video and what you talked about just a little bit earlier. If you wouldn't mind my reading them out, that'd be great. We can try to address everyone's questions.
Awesome. Absolutely.
Great. So the one question here is, if NAM is using Zoom, how is it handling the myriad security issues privacy issues, and the transcripts of the calls that are apparently automatically generated at the conclusion, including private messages sent among participants.
Okay, let me just correct whoever asked that question. There is no transcript of the proceedings. Secondly, everybody's read about these. I think they call them Zoom bombing. First thing is you should not publicize or publish, let's say on social media, the meeting number, the password. You have to first protect yourself. Then, there's really two levels of security. There's Zoom security, which Zoom has set up into the process, and then there's also security that controls that NAM provides, and the mediator as the host. So first, I'll reassure you there's no information collected during any of these sessions. There's nothing recorded during any of these sessions, and you have the mediator acting as a host, and basically we can prevent screen sharing. If someone wants to put something crazy that's up on their screen, they will first have to ask the mediator's permission to do it. Otherwise, you will not be allowed to do it. So I have not seen any of the stuff that you're reading about, and I think that the security protocols that NAM uses, it goes above and beyond the security protocols that Zoom has used.
Okay, great. And maybe we'll just sneak in one additional question here related to Zoom.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Someone has asked, with the security issues Zoom has experienced, has NAM ever considered using another platform, given the confidential materials involved in mediation?
I have used other platforms. I've used WebEx for a couple of arbitrations, and it's basically the same. The only difference that WebEx is that you can't put people into breakout rooms. I can take people out of the meeting and put them aside in what they call putting them in a lobby. But so I don't think it's as versatile as Zoom. But I have used WebEx as well, and I think there are a couple other platforms out there. Something called Blue Jeans. Yes, that's its name. I haven't used it yet, but I believe it's out there, and I think some of my colleagues at NAM may have also used that. But we've used mostly Zoom.
Okay, great. Thanks for clarifying that, and thanks to everyone for providing those questions. Please keep them coming in as new topics arise, and as new questions might come up that you might have for Judge Schachner. Please feel free to enter them in the Q&A widget, and we'll continue to answer them in the next half hour or so.
Okay. Do you want to give the code at this point, Kelly, or should I keep going?
Yeah, this is a great point to do that. So let's go ahead and read out the CLE code for today. The CLE code for today is virtual 30. That's VIRTUAL and the number 30 with no spaces. Again, the code is virtual 30.
Okay, so I'll keep going as far as how the mediations work. Now, as I said, I will continue going in and out of these different breakout rooms, and hopefully, eventually, we reach a settlement. Now, NAM uses what's called a post-mediation agreement. It's our standard post-mediation agreement. Actually, let me back up a second. During the mediation, if people wish to, they can share exhibits with either in the original room or with the mediator. There's a screen sharing feature, or you can just hold a document up to your camera, and that way the mediator, or if you're in the general room, you can use exhibits as well, and you can obviously, when you email me a mediation statement, if there are exhibits you wish me to see, I can see those exhibits. Now, getting back to, optimistically, we're going to reach a settlement. We've come towards the end of the mediation. There's a post-mediation agreement. Obviously, you cannot sign those in person, but what I would do if people need to is I would read the agreement out and sign for you, and then later in the day, I scan it back to you, and then you have your agreement. And then obviously you would need to contact each other regarding releases and so forth. One of the things also is if the case doesn't settle, obviously just because the mediation ended doesn't mean it's over and the case is not going to settle. These mediations, we have the meeting ID and the password go till the end of the day. So if parties want to reconvene a few hours later, we can do that, and I have done that. Or obviously I take people's information and I continue the discussion either by telephone call, email, or text, and this has proven to be very successful. Now, we also do virtual video arbitrations, similar to mediation, except a little different because we kind of stay in the same room. Nobody needs to go into a breakout room. Counsel can email me their arbitration package prior to the arbitration so that I can review it. Your witnesses can be given the information to join the meeting, and they could do so if they have a computer with a camera, an iPhone with a camera, or if they just want to participate via telephone. They can testify from their own location, or they could be in your office and testify, obviously keeping that social distance in your office at a nice big conference table. That can work as well. Again, demonstrative evidence can be shown to the witnesses through screen sharing or just holding it up. So we can do that as well. And once the arbitration's over, I have all the materials, and you will get a decision. And I have to say the arbitrations are even easier to do than the mediations because you're not putting people in breakout rooms. And sometimes people, get a little nervous about going into a breakout room. Here we're all in the same virtual room together. I just want to also say that we couldn't function without our IT department. And I know everybody's IT department really have done a great job, but NAM's IT department will be there. They shadow every mediation, every arbitration, and if something happens with the technology, they're there to step in and resolve the issue. We know that everybody has different levels of technical expertise, and we're prepared to deal with that. And again, I'll tell you, if I can do it, you can do it. So that's something we should be aware of. We do know that sometimes people are nervous about this. NAM will even go so far as setting up, if you've never used the video ADR before, NAM will actually do like a mock mediation just to get you used to how it works. A mock mediation or mock arbitration, you would just have to speak to your account executive, and NAM can do that for you with the help of the NAM IT department.
Judge Schachner?
Yes.
There's a great question here on that note, actually.
Okay.
Someone's asking, is NAM prepared to set up everything for the attorney or participant to simply click and participate, as this web seminar has been set up in the same way. I'm looking for ease of use, being unsure of my technological capabilities.
It's funny. It's basically you need to download the Zoom app. It's free. Once you have the Zoom app, when you sign up your case, you will be given a meeting number and a password. And you click on the Zoom app. It'll tell you to join a meeting. You click on that, and you put in the numbers. They'll ask you for the password. You put that in. You will be in the mediation. So it's a few clicks and you're in. And then once you're in, I or any one of my colleagues will be able to kind of guide you what you need to do next, which isn't much. You stay in the meeting room. You don't have to do anything except explain your position in the case. Once you go to a breakout room, you will see a prompt that will say join breakout room. You click on that and you're in the breakout room. And that's pretty much it. There may be prompts to turn on your camera. There may be prompts to turn on your microphone. But that's really it. And yes, NAM can the IT people can sit with you virtually, obviously, and get you through the program, help you download it, help you get on, and you will see that it's quite easy.
Great. That sounds completely turnkey.
Pretty much. And I keep saying it, but I was not technologically inclined. I still don't think I'm technologically inclined. Maybe I'm technologically declined. I don't know. But if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Perfect.
So I wanted to move on a little bit to other uses for the video. If you want to meet with a client, a Zoom meeting is a way to get that done. If you want to prepare your client for an EBT, again, you can use this video conferencing service or other video conferencing services. We know now, and in speaking with attorneys, people are starting to do video depositions. And I think in a lot of the video depositions, the court reporting companies are acting as the hosts. And for the most part, I think those are people are going ahead with it. And I know, as I said before, I believe the court system is using some sort of video conferencing platform. I believe it might be Skype. They were not using Zoom or WebEx. I'm not really sure what services they're using, and I know it's been on a somewhat limited basis. But we're starting to see that as well. A couple of other things I wanted to mention. The screen sharing is a feature that Zoom has. I don't believe WebEx has it, although I'm not sure about that. But that feature allows you to use exhibits and documents in an interactive fashion, and the mediator controls it. So you will not just be able to put what's on your screen up in a mediation. You would have to get permission, and that's one of the security features of these mediations, is that the mediator controls what goes, who comes in and what comes in, and that prevents, along with the participants, not giving out, not publicizing in any manner whatsoever what the meeting number is and what the password is. If you do that, you do it at your own peril. And you may get people that are unauthorized to try and get into the mediation. But again, the mediator is there to block that. And that just simply will not happen. So I want to just re-emphasize that. Another thing is, we're all attorneys. We're not high school students or school students. And, the chances of somebody getting into the meeting, you have to ask yourself, is somebody really interested so interested in this case that they're going to somehow hack into the meeting? It's not realistic. And I think, for the most part, I know 100%, I have not seen anything like Zoom bombing or anything like that. And I think Zoom and NAM are constantly upgrading the security features of this process, and so I think that's something that you really don't need to worry about at this point. I'll talk a little bit about what the future, what I believe. I really think this video conferencing and video mediations and video arbitrations, I think that's really here to stay. I think we will gradually, hopefully in the near future, we will all see each other in person, either hopefully in Garden City or in NAM's 42nd Street office. But even after that, I think this is going to be used much more than it was prior to this pandemic. It provides really. We deal a lot of times with people coming to a mediation from out of town, and it makes the ease of scheduling. If you don't have to travel, it's a very easy thing. Someone can be sitting at their desks in their office and participate fully in a mediation. And I think it makes people more productive. You could be participating in the mediation, and you could be sitting at your desk working as well. I think, sometimes people, even in the metropolitan area, they don't want to commute into Manhattan, or they don't want to travel to Garden City, and this provides a way and a mechanism to do that. So it makes people more productive. It provides for ease of scheduling for the participants. It provides, if a plaintiff's lawyer can't, his client can't travel, he or she can participate through the use of a video conference, and even, not even to participate fully, but just so the parties can see the plaintiff, and then, they can be removed from the mediation, and the attorney can talk to the client by telephone. It's just an easier way sometimes for people to participate and to be involved without there being travel issues for somebody. As I sit here talking about it, I just think it's going to be something that we all are going to get used to doing. Nobody likes change. I know I worked in the court system 30 years, and coming to NAM was a big change in my life, but I'll be the first to tell you, change is good, very good. And here again, we have, the change of, instead of sitting across from the table from somebody, where we're all in our home office, in our basement, at our kitchen table, in front of a computer. And yes, you kind of miss social interaction and the camaraderie, but it does allow for us to move forward, and it does allow for attorneys to move cases forward and resolve cases and to continue to work. And for that, I'm very happy about. And I think, the benefits that we're seeing, we will see moving forward. And I think people will continue to use the service. It won't be exclusive as it is now, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's 25% or a third of our mediations and arbitrations. I believe that could happen. So do we have more questions?
We do, actually. A lot of people have commented their responses to our question earlier about what's your biggest fear about using video ADR. Yeah. A lot of people mentioned confidentiality is one of their main concerns. And I know you kind of touched on this a few slides back, but maybe you want to just recap a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Well, obviously, as I indicated, we don't collect any information. Nothing gets recorded. These breakout rooms, there is absolute privacy, except for when the mediator goes in the room. We all also have to, treat it as if if you were doing an in-person mediation. Everybody trusts that everybody in that room is negotiating in good faith. Theoretically, if we're sitting in a conference room doing an in-person mediation, somebody, could have a recording device under the table and be recording the mediation. We all hope that doesn't happen and that everybody in that room is acting in good faith. And similarly here, we all have to bring our good faith to these virtual mediations and virtual arbitrations, and we have to negotiate honorably, honor our commitments, and not do anything that you wouldn't do at an in-person mediation or arbitration. I don't see that, and again, I don't see that as being a problem as long as we all are honorable people. Everybody, advocating for their client in a fair and reasonable way and forthright. I bring my integrity and my honesty to virtual mediations the same as I do to an in-person mediation. So I don't see that as being a problem, and as the security tools that the mediator is provided with, I don't see that as being a problem. And I know people are concerned about it. There are things that have been written about it, but I haven't seen it as a problem. I don't anticipate it as being a problem.
Okay, great. Sure. I think another comment from somebody here is, I find it necessary to have private discussions with my client and no one else, including the mediator, when discussing possible offers or demands. They say here, I would need a private breakout room for just my client and myself. How can this be handled?
That can be done without question. We have the ability, I believe, to set up 30 breakout rooms. So we can set up a breakout room for you and your client. We can set up a breakout room for just you. We can set up a breakout room for just your client. So that's not a problem, and it's something I've done already. Sometimes you can have your client. If you have a big enough, you can have. I've seen it where the attorney and the client are in the same office, just not sitting next to each other. But if you're at separate locations, we can provide a breakout room for both you and your client, just yourself. If you want a room where you can talk to your client and then you step out of that room, that can be done as well. There's also a feature where we can put you or your client on hold in the meeting instead of a breakout room, and if you want to both be in one breakout room, but then we want to separate you want to separate from your client, we can do that as well. We can, put your client on hold, and we can talk privately, just you and I in your breakout room while your client's on hold. And of course, we all have cell phones, so we can remove your client from the mediation, and you can step out and talk to your client by cell phone as well. And by the way, I always take people's cell phone numbers at the beginning of the session, just in case anything happens where someone may lose a connection or something. It rarely does, but that's another safeguard to keep things moving forward and keep things flowing.
Okay, excellent. Well, we only have about 13 more minutes left till the top of the hour, so why don't we continue on with the presentation, Judge, and we can then turn back to the questions. We've gotten a flood of questions, and we'll try to answer them as many as we can at the end of your presentation. How does that sound?
Okay, I'm close to the end now, so we can go to questions whenever you want. So let's cover as many questions as we can, if you want to do that.
Great, sure. Another question we have here is, will virtual hearings ever expand into trials?
That's a really good question. One of the things I've been hearing is that in New York City anyway, in the metropolitan area, we may not have juries back on civil cases until January. That's kind of a scary thought, but it's also a scary thought bringing jurors into courthouses right now, which I don't think, first of all, we can't even get lawyers into courthouses, so I don't know how we're bringing jurors in. But I would think in the future, that could be a possibility if the technology could be worked out. Now, obviously, if we didn't have a jury, I think if people would consent to non-jury trials, I think absolutely that could be done quite easily. Having jurors remote creates a lot of problems, but I would hope, and I'm sure the court system is somebody at the Office of Court Administration here in New York is probably thinking about that. And I think that option will happen in our lifetime.
Wow. Great. Just going back to concerns and fears in going virtual, another common theme that we've seen people respond here is that there's a loss of intimacy in face-to-face mediation, and it's more difficult, to read parties and their reactions, kind of the emotional side of it. How can we kind of come to terms with that and kind of get beyond that?
I think when you're face to face in a mediation, in a virtual mediation, I don't think that's true. I think you can read somebody virtually on the screen just as you could in an in-person mediation. I think where somebody is participating and perhaps doesn't have the camera access or chooses not to use a camera, that may be true. But when there's a camera, I don't think that's true. I think that there is still the ability for intimacy, the ability for eye contact, and you could read somebody virtually as if they were sitting across from you at a table, in my opinion.
Okay. Someone else is asking, do clients take it as seriously from the comfort of their homes as they would when they're in a real mediation? That's a great question. Exigency doesn't seem to be there in a virtual setting, so yeah.
Yeah, no, I actually think that they do, and I think they, especially during these past 6 weeks or so, they appreciate the ability to do this from the safety and the comfort of their home or wherever they may be. I think they take it seriously. I know it's treated seriously. They understand. I speak to them at the beginning of the session. I tell them that this, even though we're not in person, if we weren't in the middle of a pandemic, this is what would happen, and the same thing is going to happen here. And we're hoping to resolve your case, or in the case of an arbitration, which in essence is a mini trial. It's taken seriously, and I swear people in, and I think they not only do they take it seriously, but they appreciate the fact that people are in these times are still going about the business of trying to move their case forward towards a resolution. So I do think people take it seriously, no matter where they're situated.
Absolutely. Here's a couple of questions, just going back to the breakout rooms. The first question we have is, do we need to request breakout rooms in advance, or can those requests be made during the ADR?
You can rest assured that even before your mediation starts, I've already set up the rooms. I know, I get an idea for how many people are going to be at the mediation, and so I'll know how many breakout rooms I'm going to use. I usually put I set a couple extra up just in case. So yes, you can request breakout rooms immediately before, during. You can let me know in the beginning, but rest assured that both my colleagues and I have already set up the breakout rooms, and we're ready to put you in the rooms right at the very beginning. In fact, sometimes people, maybe they don't want to make an opening statement in front of the other side and they want to talk privately, and we can start off by putting everybody in breakout rooms. That has happened as well. So I think, yes, that's an easy thing to do. You will get a prompt to join the room. Just follow the prompt, a click, and you're in, and then you have privacy. And while you're in the room, if you're in with a colleague or your client, you can discuss the case privately. And then when you hear a chime, the mediator is coming in to talk to you, to start engaging in a bit of shuttle diplomacy.
Great. And someone else is asking about whether they can get kind of a sense of the feel of the room. Do you have any schematics or visual aids that demonstrate what the rooms feel like to the end user?
Well, the rooms, you will look on the screen, and when you're in the first room where everybody gathers together, you will look on the screen and you will see everybody who's participating, assuming everybody has a camera and is utilizing their camera. If you're not utilizing your camera, you will just see somebody's name, John Smith, but you won't see his or her face. So you'll have they call it a gallery screen, and you will see everybody up at the top of your screen who's participating. So yes, you're able to see everybody and read the room, and kind of get an idea of who's there, and I can see everybody, and I could read the room as well, which is helpful. Sometimes people are not participating with a camera, so you don't get to see them, but you get to hear them, and that doesn't make it insurmountable. I've settled cases where people are just on a telephone and don't have a camera. So, but being able to see people, I think, does assist both the mediator and opposing counsel can read the room as well.
Perfect. There's a question here, I guess, kind of with logistics in a way. It seems that having to hold up documents having to hold documents up to a screen for a witness to read in an arbitration would be unwieldy in a document-intensive proceeding? That's a great question. How do you resolve that?
Yeah, so we have, if you have it on your computer, if you scanned it in, you can share it. It's a screen sharing, kind of like an application within Zoom, which the mediator controls. So if you were going to need that, if you let the mediator or the arbitrator know in the beginning that you're going to need to screen share certain documents, you can do that. I have seen attorneys just hold a document or a picture up to the screen if they haven't scanned it in, and they've been able to do that as well. And the client or the witness has been able to look at it and answer questions that way as well.
All right, great. And we have about 3 more minutes until the top of the hour, until our session is over. So we'll squeeze in just one more question here. Someone has asked, how do you ensure the prompt for the breakout room is sent only to the desired participants? That is, no mistake is made and it is sent to the adversary.
Okay. I assign the breakout room to the particular party. So I will assign Jane Jones breakout room number 1. Now, if I make a mistake, so Jane Jones goes into breakout room number 1. Tom Smith, I'm assigning into breakout room number 2. And if for some reason I click the wrong button, well, you'll know immediately because both of you will see each other. If you don't see anybody else, then you know that you're alone in your breakout room. If you see somebody that doesn't belong there, then the mediator may have made a mistake. And by the way, I'll know immediately too because I'll see that someone moved from the main room into a breakout room that I did not want to go into that breakout room. So I can recover that and then make the correct adjustment to put the right people where they're supposed to be. So if you see somebody in your breakout room that doesn't belong there, or if you think you're in the room with somebody who you don't want to be with or shouldn't be with, you let the mediator know. But the mediator will know almost simultaneously because he won't see that person that he thought was still staying in the main room. That person would have been incorrectly put into a breakout room that he shouldn't have been put in, or she shouldn't have been put in.
All right, excellent. Well, on that note, we are getting close to the top of the hour at this time. Thank you so much, Judge Schachner, for all the valuable insight here today. This was great. We've had a ton of engagement from the audience, really a very engaging topic. Thanks also to Law.com for their support. Just as a reminder, all participants will receive an email shortly after this event with detailed instructions on how you can receive your CLE when it becomes available on May 7th. And you will also receive an email 1 week from today with instructions on downloading your state-specific CLE certificate. And just also as a reminder, this webcast will be archived so that you can refer to it later if you so choose. So with that said, thank you all again and have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you all. Stay safe.